Cool. Um, so thank you so much for, taking some time out of your day to talk with me and to help kind of go through your experiences as an athlete and competing in the IATBP. I know that everything is really hard right now with the situation in the world, and I'm pretty sure you're an essential worker, right?
Oh
Is
yeah,
that true?
yep.
Yeah.
My work isn't skipped a beat. I still go like physically to work every day, 8 hours a day, which I'm actually grateful for because I'd be going nuts. Like even on weekends, just having to be here alone is driving me crazy. So I'm glad I get to get out of the house, go to work, and that I'm still getting paid because I know that a lot of people are suffering right now. So I'm extremely grateful for that. I'm not gonna lie.
Good. Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, even in spite of that, though, like definitely leaving the house and going to work is still a risk. So I'm just grateful that you're doing okay, and thankful that you are taking some time to sit down with me and chat a little bit about your experiences. So
Definitely.
um, I didn't mention this in the beginning of the recording, but I have on with me today Damien. Is it the Phoenix Montoya? Is that
Yeah. Yeah, I
your
mean,
name?
Phoenix was just kind of like an alias I used when I started modeling to kind of separate my modeling identity from my actual identity, but it's kind of just become one and the same. But yeah, I've had people like in public be like, "Are you Phoenix?" And I'm like, "Yeah, my real name's Damien," but I go by either. I respond to both, so it's totally fine.
Okay. Cool. I mean, I love it. It's like a super badass nickname, and I was like wanting to ask you where that came from because I I just thought it was so cool. So I don't know if you want to take a second to introduce yourself. I just know that you are the winner of our 2019 overall competition down in Atlanta, Georgia. But if you want to take a second to tell us a little bit more about yourself, your pronouns, who you are.
Yeah. So I'm Damien, aka Phoenix Montoya. I go by he/him pronouns. I'm FTM trans male. I started transitioning 8 years ago. My actually my T day was like 2 weeks ago on the 28th of March. So happy 8 year
Congrats.
anniversary to me, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been doing bodybuilding for geez, it's been 4 years now. Done 3 shows so far, won that last one for the IATBP and feeling good about that. But I definitely want to get back into like I guess like mainstream shows, and I really want to do a competition out here because I know the competition in California is fierce. So to be able to place out here would be amazing. So right now I am. Well, I was kind of prepping to do a show later in the year. I don't know how things are going to work after all this isolation and
Yeah.
pandemic stuff lays out. But other than that, I work in biomedical research. I work with animals. And yeah, I'm living out here in San Diego with my dog and just loving life.
Awesome. That's cool. You're like all around. So I guess you mentioned that you wanted to go back to like non-IATBP affiliate competitions. Does that mean that you've competed before, like outside of the IATBP?
Yes, so I've competed twice for the was it NPC,
Mhm.
National Physique Committee. The first year I ever did a competition, it was men's physique. So you wear the board shorts, like the swimming trunks. You do quarter turns, and that's it. And I was so bored with that. I mean, I got in really good shape for it, but I was just disappointed. I thought like I'd be doing more posing and stuff, and so the next year I decided to do classic physique, which is kind of in between the bodybuilding and the physique, where you wear not really like the speedo type trunks, but you wear more of like boxer briefs. So
Yeah.
it's definitely tailored more towards the old Arnold look. They want you to have a nice taper, but they also take a lot of your legs into consideration. Whereas physique, they don't really look at your legs at all. It's more your midline and how much like you can get your waist small. Whereas
Mhm.
classic physique is more about your overall like symmetry, your build, just kind of looking aesthetic and lean as opposed to being big and puffy like a bodybuilder or just like really slim and lean like a physique competitor. And so for classic physique, traditionally you do 5 mandatory bodybuilding poses, and you also get to do the routine to music. So it definitely allows you to show off more of your physique, and I just feel like it's more fun and more rewarding that way. So yeah, I really like classic physique. I plan on competing in that category from now on, and I feel like my body just naturally goes really well with it because I do have the taper, and then I do have really good legs and like thick thighs just from like being born female. It's just how it happens. So I really have like the natural physique for it.
Cool. So I mean, what was that feeling like? I mean, was it the feeling like competing um in NPC versus like competing in the IATBP, like that experience knowing that you're competing against a bunch of cis guys in what is, I mean, supposedly an untested show, basically, versus competing with other trans people in a trans competition.
It's definitely a lot more intimidating. I mean, it's it's not like they give you a physical or anything. So unless you're running around with a trans flag or saying that you're trans, no one really knows or asks
Yeah,
questions. So it was definitely really intimidating, and constantly in the back of my mind wondering like if people caught on or knew. I mean, honestly, like it's something that I think that you internalize and you overthink it. Like it's kind of like the spotlight effect where you think that everybody's
for
looking at you.
sure.
So I really don't think that anybody had any questions about whether I was like a natural male or anything. But I mean, just in general, I was such an amateur. I look back and I'm like, oh my god, my posing was terrible. Like my physique was great, but if you don't know how to pose and you don't know how to show off your physique, it doesn't matter how good you look, how lean you get. If you don't pose right, you're gonna look like an amateur, like I did. So I didn't
Yeah,
place in either of those competitions, but it was definitely a learning experience. My first year it was my first year doing any competition. The next year was my first time doing classic physique and getting that posing down. So I feel like between my last classic physique show for the NPC and then the competition at the IATBP, my biggest improvement was definitely posing. I actually sat down with somebody who had won a couple competitions, and I was like, okay, teach me how to pose, because my first coach who got me through my first two shows with the NPC, he was great and he helped me and he like did it pro bono and everything. But I feel like when it came to posing practice, he was kind of like too afraid to critique me. Like he thought he was gonna hurt my feelings. And
yeah,
so when I look back and I'm like, dude, why didn't he tell me that I looked like shit up there? Like I wasn't doing it right.
yeah,
Like I literally just like there's a strategy to each pose and I wasn't doing it correctly. And so like I just wish that he had told me like, hey, no, like do this, do that. So I feel like the biggest improvement I made between those two competitions was definitely posing, just getting the poses down, doing them correctly, and just learning how to do it without looking in the mirror as well. Because that's a really big a difficulty. There is like there's a difference between looking in the mirror and posing, and then not being able to see yourself at all and posing. So
yeah,
that's definitely like I feel like why I improved so much between those two shows. I really like, in terms of leanness, I definitely could have gotten leaner at the IACBP. And I'm not gonna lie, like I feel like it just wasn't a big show. There wasn't a lot of competition. So although I definitely grateful and I think that I earned it in that way, I kind of wish there were more competitors and that way I kind of felt like just more like I achieved more. So
yeah.
I feel like going back to doing shows with cis men, it's just like it's gonna be more satisfying in the fact that there's more competitors that really do take it seriously, and I just feel like it's more of a win that way if you do place. No, like literally, no offense to the ITVP, I understand why the show is the way it is, and I'm so
Yeah.
grateful for it. It definitely gave me a little bit of a boost, but being able to compete with more people who have been doing this for a long time is definitely more gratifying. I feel like.
Yeah, I think it's definitely different just because the organization that you competed with, like obviously the NPC has been around for so long, like
Right.
it's just such an established organization, and the IATBP is really has been struggling to get its footing for
For sure.
so many years. And I think that's part of what I'm hoping to do now being brought on. Like if we can increase our social media presence, like maybe we can get a lot more people involved. Like how are people supposed to compete if they don't know that we exist?
Right.
And then how are we supposed to become a serious organization that is like the foremost authority for trans bodybuilding if we don't have a lot of competitors?
Right.
And
Right.
so yeah, but I can understand that. I saw the pictures, and I mean everybody had like a nice physique, but it definitely was not um comparable to the NPC, and only because we don't have a wide array of competitors who are at like a very elite level yet. But that's definitely the direction that we're trying to get towards. I personally have never been to a competition before. I just watch a lot of videos online, like
Yeah.
a lot of videos. But what was the sense of like camaraderie there, like at the IATBP versus NPC shows? I've only ever heard of a comparison between tested versus untested bodybuilding, so
Mm.
I've never really like had, and because I've never been to a show and I'm not like competitive yet, I don't know how to make that comparison. So what, like backstage or like just walking around the show, like what was the feeling like there?
Surprisingly, the camaraderie at a normal, like I don't want to say normal, I guess, but like a established like an NPC, It's
Yeah.
not what you think. The guys are very friendly still. It's and obviously with the IATVP, we were such a small group that and tight knit, and we all had this one thing in common that we all transitioned in one way or another. It was more so, but it's really not that bad. Like it's not like people are at the NPC shows just like being all hostile towards each other because it's not like that at all. Like if you're in the backstage, they tape off all the hallways so you don't like get spray tan everywhere. But if you need anything, like literally anything, you could ask anybody, like, hey, like, do you mind touching this up for me? Do you mind doing this for me? I did that plenty of times. The second show I did, my coach wasn't able to go backstage with me, so I was pretty much alone. And any help that I needed, I got. It was not a question. People are very friendly, and then when you're gearing up to go back, like to go on stage, and you're all like getting ready,
Mhm.
getting pumped, like you borrow each other's equipment, and you're helping each other. Oh, like people will practice posing and be like, oh, like adjust this, do that, and it's definitely not as competitive in the way that like it's a hostile competition. It's a very
Yeah.
friendly environment. At least in my experience, it has been. I've never had anybody be rude or hostile or like try and one up each other. It's just like we're all helping each other. We're all trying to get to the same place, and it all comes out on stage. So no matter what happens backstage, we all know that we worked hard for this. Regardless of what you look like, we all got here some way, and we all put a lot of work into this. So I think that's the mentality. It's that like, we're all tired, we're all hungry, we're all dehydrated. Let's just go
Yeah.
and like do our best, and once it's over, let's go eat, kind of thing. It's never been
Yeah.
like an uncomfortable situation. I feel like any discomfort that anybody has going into a competition like that is mostly just like kind of like what's it called, like not internalized, but kind of like you put it on yourself. Like you're walking into a situation intimidated because this is your first time. This is like your second time. Yeah, I've been doing this for a long time. Maybe other people have been. So like I think it's mostly in your head when it comes to kind of discomfort because everybody there, as far as I know, has been very welcoming and very friendly and
Yeah.
helpful. Hmm.
I love that. I love that there's like still a sense of camaraderie and support even in like a very very competitive arena of bodybuilding. That's just so cool.
Oh yeah.
I would definitely love to have some of that uh sense of camaraderie as well in the IATBP. Like should we continue to get bigger, that would be really incredible.
Yeah, people like
When
sharing tips and diet tips and like this is what I do before the show. This is what I do before the show, and it's funny because like obviously everybody's different. Everybody's body reacts differently to different
uh-huh.
strategies. So it's just cool to like hear what different people do. Like this person's over here eating Pop Tarts. This person's over here eating chicken and rice. And this person over here is starving. This person over here is drinking water and this and that.
Yeah.
Different tanning, different. There's different like vasodilators people use. So you learn a lot. You learn a lot, and it's just you have to be open minded and just kind of be willing to experience different things and different people and point of views.
For sure. Yeah. I definitely would agree just based on what I hear, obviously. I think more than anything, we're not just trying to create a space for trans people to compete, but like especially for gender non-conforming and non-binary people to
Right.
compete as well, because trans people have very commonly gone and competed in untested shows in bodybuilding all the time if they're binary trans people, but for like masculine lesbians or non-binary androgynous people, there's just not really a place on a gendered stage where you either have to walk out shirtless in trunks or with like a glittery bikini and heels,
Yeah,
it's not
and also just like trans guys who haven't had top surgery yet. Like
exactly.
you shouldn't have to cover up. That's your body, and it's just like why?
um,
This is like bodies are what they are, and that shouldn't matter.
for sure, yeah, it's obviously an organization that's still trying to get its footing, but we want to make sure we get things right so that our competitors have the best experience possible, because ultimately that's the point, right? It's a
Yeah,
safe place
exactly.
for you to compete and take bodybuilding seriously without worrying about your transness being like checked in any way.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, for
100%.
sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that, though. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm an open book when it comes to this stuff.
For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. NPC like they don't test it. I'm not gonna lie. Like the first couple of shows I was on gear. I have tried gear. I haven't done it in 3 years, but I've been there. So like people have questions about that. I'm an open book about that too. Because like I'm the kind of person who I really don't care. Like because no matter what you're doing in terms of performance enhancing drugs, you're still putting in the work. And trust me, like 99.9% of bodybuilders do it. So it's just like it's not a big deal. And I don't do it just because the rebound sucked the last time I did it, but it's just for me, it's just like it's not a big deal. It's really not a big deal. Like if you're gonna do a tested
Yeah.
show, obviously you're gonna get tested. So stay away. But most shows aren't.
Yeah.
NPC isn't, IATB isn't. Most of the big shows don't, because if they did, then they'd have no competitors. So I'm totally open when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I mean that's why organizations like the WNBF, exists. It's for natural bodybuilders who want to go that route of being competitive without like taking any PEDs or anything like that. So I think that's like one of the really incredible things about the sport. I mean, I don't know if you agree with me, but in the greater world of sports, there's such a big deal about drug testing, and I think bodybuilding and also sort of powerlifting to a certain degree, because of this like divergent path of tested shows and untested shows, and both having elite competitors. We really have created a space where you can make an informed decision about where you want to take your competitive career, and then compete with other people who are making the same kind of decisions about their competitive career without having it interfere with another person's competitive ability, because you have the option to go untested and still become a bodybuilding pro,
Hmm.
as and also a tested athlete, like a natural athlete can also become a bodybuilding pro, just
And
in a different
also, tested
competition.
shows doesn't mean that people aren't doing gear. It just means that they flush it well enough to not show it. I was like, again, it's very prominent in the industry, and just because you get tested and test clean does not mean that you're clean all year round, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that. I can't speak to that because I'm not on a competitive level, but yeah, I only know from just like following a lot of natural bodybuilding coaches and athletes and competitors, and um I know that definitely some organizations are a lot stricter with things like polygraph testing and things like that. So I don't
Polygraph
know,
is
if I were going to compete in a natural show, I wouldn't even take the risk just because of fear. So, like, if you're gonna take gear, just go compete in the untested. Like, there's no
right.
reason not to.
Yeah,
um, but yeah, I kind of want to pull back a little bit, and ask you, like, what got you into lifting weights initially? I'm always curious, like, what got a person bit by the iron bug? Like, why?
I would say, I mean, honestly, my family's always been really athletic. And when I was in high school, I got my first membership, just started working out, but kind of like hit or miss. Like some weeks I would go all the time, some weeks I would go not at all. And then once I got into college and I started my transition, I really just wanted to masculinize my body. So, and we had an awesome gym on campus. I went to UMass Amherst, huge, huge, huge gym, and just like full of meatheads and stuff. And so I just like really started taking it more seriously in college, like going consistently, and started watching my diet, which is something I didn't do before that. So I realized how much diet played into it. And so I just started lifting very regularly and didn't plan on going anywhere with it. Just like I said, I wanted to be masculine. So I wanted to look like, built shoulders, built upper body. I dreamed of having a six pack one day, and like before transitioning and even during my transition, I was a little chubby. Like I never had the definition I have now. And then when I started my first job at a college, 2015, I was doing animal care work, and so every morning we would change into scrubs. So I was in the locker room one day with my former coach, and he had been doing bodybuilding, God, for like must have been like almost 30 years. He had started when he was 15 years old, like doing shows. And at this point, he was like in his early 40s. So he was doing competitions like here and there. And he saw me in the locker room and he said, "Hey, you have a really naturally fit physique. And if you fine tuned it, I promise you, you could do good. You could do shows, you could place and all this stuff." And I just like, kind of laughed it off, like, "Oh, yeah, I mean, sure." And he was like, "No, like really, like come work out with me a couple times." So I was like, "All right." So I humored him. We worked out a couple times, and like I don't know, just like the routine he got me into, and just like the competitive nature of just even just working out with him. Like I've never worked out with somebody like that. So like usually I just go to the gym, kind of do my own thing, leave. But he was like really pushing me, like doing failure reps and really just
Yeah.
like making personal records, which I had never done before. And I was just like, yeah, like I was just addicted. I was like how much can I put up next week, kind of thing. Like, and I just wanted to keep going and keep improving. And since he started making me meal plans. So once I got the diet and the intense workouts like down pat, I started seeing drastic results like fast. And it was just like, okay, this is what I want to do. And so like when he first introduced the idea of doing a show, again, I kind of laughed it off, like, yeah, right, it's never gonna be me. I could never do that. A year later, I was on stage. It was just like he really just made it seem like I could win, And so I started seeing the results and was like, yeah, I can, like, I can do this. And so my first show, like, it really did like slap me in the face, like how serious it is and how much people
Yeah.
really put this a lot of work into it. So my second show, even though I thought I improved a lot, again, it was the first time I did classic physique. So I was, but I still like, even though I didn't place, I was not discouraged. I was like, okay, now I know what I have to do next year, kind of thing.
Mhm.
So it just became like, just like a goal, like a competition thing. Like I want to place, like, and that's why I still to this day I want to compete because I just want to place. And honestly, I don't see myself doing shows for my entire life. It takes a big toll on my mental health. I just naturally I like food, I like beer, and the cutting phase for me it takes a huge toll on my mental health. It really does. It's just it's just not where my passion is, and I love the gym. I'll never stop going to the gym, but dieting really does kill me. Like it literally kills me. So I'll do it for a show. I know like what it takes to get there, and I know it's just temporary. So that's kind of how I get through it. I'm like, okay, just get these 12 weeks. Then after that, we're good. But it's definitely not something I want to do forever. For that reason,
Mhm.
I really do want to place because I'm so competitive. Like it's just my nature, and I want to place, and I know I can if I really dedicate myself. So it's just kind of like a challenge for me at this point. Just like, all right, I want to just do it once, place once, get my trophy, call it a day, kind of thing. But
So, you're not, like, looking to get a pro card or anything like that, you
no,
just
no,
wanna
no, no, no.
place?
I'm definitely not going that route. And honestly, at this point in my life, I just feel like not that it's too late because I know I'm still young, but I like see people who have started younger than I am, like I have, and I'm just like, shit. Like these people are really like, and especially because the industry right now is just, it's just so scientifically backed now, and just people are just like, there's so many tricks and so many strategies. It's just insane. Like when I first started, I feel like I didn't know anything, and now it's just like a rabbit hole. The more I look into it, the more research I do, the more I realize that I don't know. I'm just like, holy
Yeah.
shit. Like at first it was just like counting macros, doing this. And now it's just like timing, do this at this time, this time, and do this fasted, and do this that. And I'm just like, okay, this is way too much. This is way too much. But it's just that's how the industry is now. Especially if you want to do well. So it's something that I do, and I'm proud of myself for getting it done and being able to do that. I never pictured myself doing a bodybuilding competition in my whole life. So the fact that I've done three is just mind blowing to me. And like I said, I would definitely want to place, but it's not something that I see myself doing forever. That's just me.
Yeah, no, that's I mean, the goal's the goal, whatever the goal is for you. I respect that either way. I'm wondering, like, if you like, when you get to that point where you place in bodybuilding, do you think you're gonna, like you're like, "Okay, I'm tired of dieting, like, I just wanna lift heavy stuff." Powerlifting? Question mark? Like
Uh, no, because I really don't like the aesthetic of powerlifters. Because I feel like to be a good powerlifter, you have to like sacrifice your physique a little bit. I mean, I don't know. I haven't really looked into the scene very much, but I feel like when I watch powerlifting competitions, people are just like big, like not just muscly, but like less definition, more body fat, and it's just not the aesthetic I'm going for. And also, it's just I feel like it's not good for your body. I mean, even sometimes when I'm at the gym, I'm like, I should take it easy because like I'm not trying to do this my whole life, and I want to be able to like move when I'm old. Like this stuff takes a toll on your body. It really does. There are guys who get big. Their hearts are not good. It's definitely something that will take a toll on your joints, your heart when you're that big. It's not a sustainable sport. It's and especially with the yo-yo dieting, bulking, cutting, bulking, cutting. It's not good for your body in
Yeah.
the long term. So it's something that I feel like if it's your passion, go for it, do it. I know people who are literally passionate about it, and I watch them, and I'm just like, wow, like just in admiration of them, almost a little envious, but it's weird because it's like I'm not envious in a way that like I wish I was them. It's just like wow, I wish I kind of had that dedication, but I also know at the same time it's where your passion lies, and that's just not where my passion is. I like going to the
Yeah.
gym, passionate about that, but I'm not passionate about dieting and starving myself at certain times of the year and just trying just for an aesthetic that lasts a day or two.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know, I feel like powerlifting is, like to me, it's one of the more long-term sports that you could actually do. I mean, there's definitely ways to train so that you minimize any, like, injuries to your joints, and I just think, like, anyone who tells me that, like, you can't, like, do powerlifting for a very long time, I'm like, "Have you seen, like, football?" Like, I don't even know. Like, I think
what's the oldest football player? Like what, 40s? In the early 40s? it's not sustainable
Yeah.
either.
Exactly. Yeah. I for sure. But yeah, it's just I think powerlifting is more sustainable than maybe like most other like sports. But regardless, it's really up to you. I mean, I think any sport that you do, there's going to be a sacrifice like you said, like bodybuilding, you really have to sacrifice like your mental health a little bit and your relationship with food. I mean, it really takes a toll on the
Your
way that
social
you.
life, it's all that.
Exactly.
I'm a very
Yeah.
social person. I can't help it. Like this isolation is literally killing me. I like to go out, and when the thing is, like, I'll be so good during the week when I'm at work. I fast like since the quarantine started, and I can't go to the gym anymore. I've been fasting every single weekday. But then when I wake up Saturday morning, I just can't do it. I literally can't do it. Like I know that there's food in my fridge, and I'm gonna go eat it. Like it's just,
Yeah.
and for me, it's not even about like discipline, dedication, because I have that, but it's just like literally it eats at me. Like it's, if I just sit on the couch and I'm trying to distract myself, it's just like food, 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 food. It's just part of who I am, and it's something I've come to accept. And I actually I've been meaning to make a video about it and like just talk about my life recently. But I just feel like the more I've just come to accept myself and who I am naturally, the happier I've been, and that's part of it. Like I'm someone who's meant to enjoy those things in life, and I'm meant to indulge myself, and that's okay. And like it's something to be ashamed about as long as I don't go overboard and like stop going to the gym and get obese and stuff. It's something that I feel like as long as I can control it somewhat and just still be healthy, it's the part of myself I have to learn to accept and not be ashamed about. There's nothing wrong with that. That I like going out and that I like indulging, and I don't like strict dieting. It's naturally who I am, and the fact that I am able to kind of subdue that part of myself, even just for a part of the year to do shows, that's a feat in itself because it's not easy for me. And even my body type, like people look at me and they think like, oh, he must have a good metabolism, he must do this and that. And I'm like, no, if I stopped going to the gym, my maintenance calories would be like 1700. Like I have a very slow. I'm like like that way of mesomorph, endomorph kind of thing. I'm definitely meso endomorph. Like I'm right on that line.
Yeah.
Like I put on muscle easy, yeah, but fat will come just as quickly. And if I stop working out, it's it it's so fast. Like it's incredibly fast how much I can put on weight so quickly. And cutting for me is the opposite. I can do 17 calories, 1700 calories a day, double cardio, strength workouts, and I'll lose like a pound every 2 weeks. It's really tough for me. It's not what my body likes to do. It's just how my body is built. And like I look at my family and I'm like, okay, yeah, we're all in the same boat. It's just how we are, and you can't
Yeah.
fight that.
Yeah, I saw your post about how you recently switched. I think it was like to 1800 calories a day or something for maintenance or weight loss. I wasn't sure, but when you said that, I was in shock because for me, like I'm only 5'2", and
Mhm.
like I'm at 2000 calories a day for maintenance. So I was like,
Yeah.
you're like bigger than me. Like, how are you eating that little food?
It's because as soon as I stop, but as soon as I restrict calories, my metabolism slows right down. And yeah, it's just how it's my body naturally is. My basal metabolic rate is very low, and like if you look back, like evolutionarily, like evolution wise, that's great if you're like starving and like food is scarce and you don't know when your next meal is gonna be. But in this modern society, when I can go to McDonald's right down the street, it's really not an ideal body type to have. So it's
Yeah.
definitely something that if I don't keep in check, I can put on weight very quickly. But if I do go to the gym, work out, right now I've been running a lot. Um, it's something I can maintain. But again, it's not natural for me. It's not something that I like wake up and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to go running. It's something I'm like, oh, okay, I have to go running or else I'm gonna get fat.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's a totally different mentality and body type, and everybody's different. And I definitely like believe in that whole like endo, ecto, mesomorph kind of thing, or being in between, because I see it, I witness it. I see people who I have a friend at work. He eats like 3,000 calories a day, and he's like a rail. Like he tries to put on weight. He buys weight gainers, and he can't do it. And I'm just like,
Mhm.
that's crazy. Like it's insane to me because me, if I ate your diet, I'd be like 300 pounds.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, I think that's a pretty good note to end on. I guess I want to ask if there's anything else that you want to say in regards to anything that we've talked about, maybe something I forgot to ask you, or if you want to say anything to trans people or anyone who are looking to compete or who are just starting lifting, like maybe they're like too scared to step into a gym and they're like, I don't know, like I'm not on hormones and there's all these big guys and I don't really like know what I'm doing.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, first of all, I definitely want to say that just because somebody is jacked does not automatically mean they're a douchebag. I've met so many guys who are ripped and huge, and like, you know, like
I relate, yeah.
I have like resting bitch face. You know what I mean? Like when I'm working out, I look angry. I look so intimidating. But if you come and ask me a question, I'm like, oh yeah, like I answer your question. I'm very polite. It's just when I'm in the gym, I'm just in the zone. You know, I look intense. But yeah, definitely don't be afraid because everyone in the gym is in the same boat. Even the guy who is jacked as shit, he's self conscious. Like, you know what I mean? Everyone at the gym is looking at everybody else. Like, oh, I wish I looked like that person. You know what I mean? It's just everyone's in the same boat. Everybody has that mentality, that spotlight effect. You think it's all about you, but it's really not because the person next to you is thinking the same thing. Like, oh, what is this person looking at? They're looking at me. So it's just, you know, it's I got it when I first started transitioning and I had to wear a binder to the gym. I was definitely self conscious, but you got to remember that, you know, not in a bad way, but it's not all about you. You know, everyone's thinking the same thing. Everybody's nervous. Nobody wants to be getting undressed in front of each other. So I think there's a lot more camaraderie in the gym than people think. And just because someone's jacked or has this look on their face does not mean that they're a jerk. They're probably just in the zone, like I am. And then as far as bodybuilding and stuff like that, I mean, there was a while where I was like kind of getting too competitive, where I was like looking at people's Instagrams and like seeing how like more disciplined they were than I was, or like more lean than I was, and I was starting to take it to heart and kind of getting spiteful. And then I looked back and I was just like, why? You know, why am I getting spiteful? That's not my path. You know what I mean? Like these people started earlier than I did. This is their passion. This is what they want to do for the rest of their life. They want to go pro. That's not me. Like that's not the path that I chose, and that's not the path that I want to choose. This is the path that I want to choose. So you definitely have to just think about what you want, like what makes you happy, and don't force yourself to go bodybuilding and dieting if that's not what makes you happy. You know, listen to your body, listen to your heart, your gut, and if it's not something that comes naturally or like you can make yourself do happily, don't do it. Don't ruin your mental health. Don't put that
Mhm.
at risk just to look aesthetically pleasing. It's not worth it. So that's like definitely something that I had to learn myself. You know, it's just not my path, and that's totally fine. I'm not going to be Mr. Olympia. I don't want to be Mr. Olympia. That's totally fine. And like the more I learn to accept that, the more I'm able to like cheer on my fellow competitors. Be like, yeah, you're gonna go pro. That's awesome. Like, really, dude, good for you. I'm so proud of you. Like, it's awesome. So just don't compare yourself to other people. Walk your own path, and yeah, look for inspiration, look for someone to look up to, role models, ask questions if you that's what you want to do, but don't beat yourself up over it. It's not worth it. Learn to accept who you are, for sure.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, unless there's something else that you want to mention or touch on or talk about, I just want to kind of open up the floor for you.
Yeah, I guess I mean this is gonna go on Instagram, right? So I guess I've been a little bit like absent on Instagram, which I do apologize for, but it's something that is coming along with my independence too. I feel like I was on Instagram for a long time to seek external validation, and now that I've kind of found myself here and been more independent, I just haven't felt the need to be on there. And it kind of like bums me out because I know that there are a lot of people out there who were looking at my page and looking up to me and like looking to me for inspiration. And so I'm trying to get like back into it. I'll do more videos like this, but yeah, I just want to apologize to my followers for not being so active. But I appreciate everybody who's hung on so far. And but yeah, I'm happy, I'm healthy, and that's all I can be grateful for.
Awesome. And what is your Instagram since you're already mentioning it? Where can people find you?
Phoenix_Montoya.
Phoenix_Montoya.
Yeah,
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for chatting with me. I just, I hope everything, rides out really soon so that we all stop suffering from this social distancing.
too. Yes, 100%.
Awesome.
But yeah, I'm glad you're happy, you're healthy, and thanks for having me on here. It's been a pleasure.
For sure.